Okay, so let's take a look. Again, we're going backwards, so we're going to do chapter 2. We did chapter 3, so now we're doing chapter 2. Do you remember how to do any of this stuff? Is that a yes, no, maybe? Oh, that's right. You guys aren't talking to me anymore, are you? You didn't talk to me yesterday, so. All right. Well, there's only 10 of them. Might as well do them all, huh? We've got a whole class period to fill. Yes, ma'am. It is recorded. Everything, all these reviews are recorded. All right, so let's do this one. This will be good review. Solve for x and y. So it's set up. It's not set up quite as easy as some of them have been set up, right? You can't just eliminate right now, but I will do elimination. Definitely, I don't want to do substitution on this, so I'll definitely do elimination. What would you want to eliminate, the x's or the y's? I have a preference. You could do the x's. I'm going to do the y's, right? Not just because Sam said to do the x's, but just because that's the way I did it, and I got it in front of me right here. So, oh, actually, you know what I did? I did eliminate the x's. Yeah. So what am I going to do to eliminate these x's? What do I want to make them, the 3 and the 2? I want to make them into a what? Well, what number? What number? Give me a number. I want a 6, right? I want to make one positive 6, one negative 6, right? So what do I do to that 3 to make it a positive 6? Multiply it by what? By 2. Let's make this a little thinner. All right. Multiply that by 2 and multiply that by 2. Then what do we do to this to make this a negative 6? Multiply it by negative 3 and multiply it by negative 3. I'm going to zoom up a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. Okie doke. All right, so let's write out what we have here. Now, the whole idea of doing that is so this could be a 6x and this could be a negative 6x so that they add up to 0. I could have done the same thing with the y's. I could have multiplied the top by 5 and the bottom by 2, right? And then I would have had a negative 10 on the top and a positive 10 on the bottom. You could have done that. That would have been fine, all right? Eliminate the y's and then solve for x. But we decided to, let's eliminate the x's. So what do I get? I get a 6x minus 4y equals negative 2. Then the bottom, I get a negative 6x. That was the whole idea, is to get those to be one positive and one negative so that they add up to 0. And then what's this going to be? Minus 15y equals negative 36. Everybody with me? It's a pretty easy step, right? Cancel out. What's this going to be? Negative 19y equals negative 38. Divide both sides by negative 19, and y equals 2. We're not done. We got to solve for x. So you can use either one of these equations. Doesn't make any difference. I'd probably use the top one maybe. So 3x minus 2 times y, which is 2, equals negative 1. 3x. What's this going to be? Negative 4, right? Minus 4. But then how do you get rid of a minus 4? You add a 4. So 3x equals 3. X equals 1. And you're finished, basically. How do you write your answer, though? Ordered pair. And there you go. Easy. You're cooked on that one? Come on. You're just messing with me, right? Okay, I thought so. Questions on that? Why I did what I did? Anything? Okay. Look, even if you're not taking the exam, it'd be nice if you still just kept your head up, paid attention. Oops. This dumb thing. It's not. Here, let's scooch that over. In order to erase stuff, I have to. There we go. I need to move this over a little bit. Let's go back to this. And now I can grab this, click on that, click on the white, and now click on that. There we go. All right, good. Clean that up. Now this one's a little tougher, right? When you get 3 variables, but it's the same idea. Okay, it's just a little bit more involved. So, oh, I see what I want to get rid of first. What do you want to get rid of first here? I would get rid of the x's, wouldn't you? Yeah, 3. Or you can get rid of the z's because you got a negative 3z. Braden, can you help her, please? Okay, you got a negative 3z and a plus 3z. So you could get rid of that. Let's see what did I do? Well, that's what I said. I said that's one of our options. Or you could get rid of the x's. That would be kind of easy too. Trying to see what I did. What did I do? Oh, I see. I did get rid of the... I'll do it a different way than I did it right here, just to make it a little more fun, since I don't have it right in front of me. All right, so let's do that. Let's get rid of the z's. All right, so let's take the first one, and then I'm just use a space up here. Whoops. Got it. Use red would help. And let's make this half point. All right, so let's do this again. Let's get rid of the z's. You could just kind of maybe do it in your head, but I think that might be too confusing. So I'm going to write it out. All right. If you're not sure about this, if you don't have the test in front of you, and if you haven't done these in a while, I would write this down. Just give you something to do. Even if you don't have to take the midterm, it wouldn't hurt to write this down, would it? All right, so what's going to happen here? So I took the first one and the third one, and now these cancel out. Add everything up. I got a 2x, I got a minus 6y, and I got a 16. What could I do to make this just a little bit easier for me? Yeah, I would. If this was me, this is what I would do. I don't know if it helps or not, tell you the truth, because I didn't do it this way. But I would just divide. Look, 2 goes in everything here, doesn't it? So it's not that hard. Divide everything by 2. So what do I get? X minus 3y equals what? 8. I don't know if that's going to help or not, but at least it makes the numbers a little bit smaller. It probably will help a little bit. All right, so what did I do? I eliminate the z's. So let's eliminate the z's again, but with 2 different equations. Which one would you use? Really doesn't make any difference, does it? Let's use the first and the second one. But I'm going to have to do what I did on that other problem. This is a 3z, this is a 4z. Braden, please stop. I asked you once already. I got a 3 and a 4 here, so I'm going to make it into a what? What number do I want to make them both into? I got a 3 and a 4. Say it. A 12. I want to make it into a 12. So how do I make this into a 12 or a negative 12? Multiply it by 4. Multiply that by 4. Then what do we do to the second equation? Multiply this by 3. And multiply this by 3. All right, good luck, girls. All right, now let's write it out. Let's put it up here. So I get 4x minus 8y. Make sure you double check that I'm not, because I don't have this in front of me. Make sure I don't make any dumb errors. Equals 8. And then let's do the second one. That's negative 9x. That's plus 15y. Plus 12z. And that's 0. Did I do all the math right? 12z's, they cancel out. What do I get here? Negative 5x plus 7y equals 8. All right, there's another x and y I got. So what I'm going to do is take those together. And basically, I'm left with a problem like I did on number 1. Right? So really, that's the only thing different with 3 variables than the 2 variables, at least in this problem anyway. So let's write it out. Negative 5x plus 7y. There's a lot of writing, but really, has the math been difficult? Has even the steps, the process, has it been difficult? I don't think so. All right, now what do we got to do here? Eliminate something. If tell you the truth, you could do substitution, couldn't you? You could get x by itself, so x is 3y plus 8, and then you could plug it into that if you wanted to. But since we're kind of on a roll with this elimination stuff, so let's do that. Might be easier just to do a substitution here, to tell you the truth. I don't know if you did that or not, but it might be a little easier, not much. But I'm going to multiply this by 5, multiply that by 5. Let's see what we get. So I'm going to rewrite the top equation. And now I'm going to multiply this by 5 and put it underneath. So I got a 5x, I got a minus 15y, and I got a 40. All right, that canceled. This is negative 8y, and that's 48. Divide both sides by negative 8, so y is negative 6. Is that right? Yep. All right, so I got one down. Let's find the other ones. I got a y, so let's find an x. This one right here might be... Okay. All right, so let's put that y into this, and then we can, this one right here, and then we can solve for x. So x minus 3 times negative 6 equals 8. This is going to be what? A positive 18. So how do we get rid of a plus 18? Subtract an 18. So x, put it right here, x is what? Negative 10. Is that the answer? Yep. And then one more. Got to find z. So find a place that has z in it. Let's just do this bottom one right here. X minus 4y. Slide it in here. So x, what did I say x was equal to? Negative 10, right? Negative 10. Can we do the y in our head? Negative 4 times negative 6, which is plus what? 24 plus 3z equals 14. This is going to be 14. Whoops, that's an ugly 4. There we go. A little better. So this is going to be what? 14, positive 14. We subtract 14, so 3z is 0, and z is 0. I'm trying to cram everything in here. And so let's write our answer right here. Let's make it negative 10 for x, negative 6 for y, 0 for z, and that is the answer. Again, once you get used to these things, it's really not that difficult. You just got to make sure you're careful, right? I mean, look, can you imagine just making one little arithmetic error early on? That would mess everything up, wouldn't it? So you got to be super careful, okay? Go slow. Be very meticulous about it. You know what that means? Just be very careful, right? And just double check every step you do, and you should be good. All right, what about the matrices? Well, these beginning matrices were kind of easy. Determinant, a little tough. First determinant's pretty easy once you know the steps. This, number 7's a little bit tougher. 8. All right, and then we got to do it by a matrix. Yeah, so that's why I only gave you 10 problems on here, because some of these are pretty long. All right, like that one we just did. All right, but this one's kind of easy. It's just A plus B. Matrix A, right here, plus matrix B. So we just add them together. So when you add matrices together, you just add, they got to be the same rows and columns, okay? They got to be the same dimension, and you just add them together. So that's kind of simple. I'll just use this area right here. So what do you got? You got 7 plus negative 3, right? You got 8 plus negative 5. You got 0 plus 2. And you got negative 4 plus negative 2. Everybody see that? I took this one and I just added it to its counterpart right there. Did the same thing with the other ones. And then you're good to go. What do you got? 4, 3, 2, negative 6. And there it is. That's your answer right there. Super easy. Why didn't you give me a bunch of those on this quiz, right? Or test. No questions on that, right? Tell you what, I need that area, so let's do this, do this, do this. Now I can get rid of it. All right. I might as well get rid of this stuff too, because we're going to be using it again. Oops, there we go. All right. What about this? 4a minus 4b. Well, what you're doing is you're just multiplying this by 4, and you're multiplying this by 4, and then you're going to subtract them, right? So it's easy to multiply. We call this a scalar. Did I use that word before? I don't remember if I used that word. When it's just a number, instead of multiplying two matrices together, if I just multiply a regular number times a matrix, that regular number we call a scalar, S-C-A-L-A-R. I don't remember saying that in here, did I? Anybody remember? Okay, but that's what you call it anyway. So let's multiply everything. So it's just like what you think it would be. Okay, it's 4 times 7, 4 times 8, 4 times 0, 4 times negative 4. All right. So what do you get for that? Let's just do that in our head. What's that? That's 28. 8 4s are 32. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. All right. So here's one matrix. That's the 4A. Put a minus here. And let's do the 4B. 4 times negative 3, it's negative 12. That's negative, whoops, almost put 15. Negative 20, that's 8, and that's negative 8. Everybody good? And now you just subtract. Let's write it down here. So it's 28, look, it's not 28 minus 12. What is it? 28 minus negative 12, which is, can we do this in our head? Yeah, let's try to do it in our head. 28 plus 12, which is what? 40. Okay? And then 32 minus a negative again. What's minus a negative? Plus 32 plus 20 is 52. All right? 0 minus 8 is negative 8. Negative 16, again, another minus a negative. What's minus a negative? Plus. Negative 16 plus 8 is just negative 8. And there it is. That's how you do that one. Pretty straightforward, right? I mean, my guess is if I didn't teach you anything about matrices, you probably could have done this. That's my guess. Or if I just taught you some very, very basic stuff, you probably could have done this. So yeah, that looks reasonable. Now the next one's not quite as reasonable. You got to learn a little method to do it. All right? A times B. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put them right next to each other because I think I like to see them right next to each other. So I'm going to take this matrix. Now, with addition and subtraction, all you do is you just take the numbers that are in that spot and just add them up or subtract them. Multiplication is not the same, though, for matrices. Okay? So this one's a little bit different. So what is it? AB. So this is negative 3, negative 5, that's 2, that's negative 2. All right. Jimmy, you made a gesture with your hands. It wasn't a bad gesture, but it was the correct gesture. So watch. Let's do this in a different color. So watch. So what do? We go, let me see this. Yep. We go, how did I do that? We take those numbers, we multiply them by these. Is that correct? I haven't done these since we did this test myself. And then you take those numbers and you multiply it by these. Then you're going to take these numbers and multiply it by this one. These numbers multiply by this one. All right. So let's do that. Let's go back. Make that color. Okay, so I'm going to take this one and multiply them together. So you get negative 21. But I'm not done. All right, so I'm going to take this one and this one. Then I'm going to take what? This one and this one together, multiply them. But then what do I do with those two numbers? I add them together, right? See that? So I'm going this times this, all right? And then I'm going this times this. So I'm going across the first row, down the first column. Everybody got that? Plus what? 16. Okay? Now, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take that first column, and I'm going to take that row, and multiply by this column. And then I'm going to put this over here. All right? So what numbers am I multiplying then? That's 7 again, times what this time? The negative 5. What's 7 times negative 5? Negative 35. Then I add it to what? 8 times negative 2. See, I go across here, down here. So I'm taking the 7 times the negative 5 and the 8 times the negative 2, and that gives me minus 16. All right? Now, what do? Now we're going to take this bottom row and multiply it by both of these columns and add them up. That's what we're going to do now. So watch. So it's 0 times the first one, which is 0. And then it's the negative 4 times the 2, which is negative 8. Or you could put plus negative 8, however you want to see it. And now we do the same thing, but we do it to the second column. So we take this second row times the second column this time. So I go 0 times negative 5, which is 0. And then I go negative 4 times negative 2, which is positive 8. So it's plus 8. So this one's a little tricky. This is not as intuitive, would you agree, as what we did for addition and multiplying by a scalar. All right, and then you just work that stuff out. What's that? Negative 5, negative 51. That's negative 8. That's positive 8. And that's your answer right there. So that's how you do matrix multiplication. Again, here's the key. Multiply across this row, down this column. Then you do the same row again, times the second column. Then you go down here to the second row, times the first column, and the second row, times the second column. And what do you do to those two numbers, though, in between each one? You add them up. Do you recall that? Yeah. All right. What about this? Remember what we do here? Find the determinant. Yeah, it's kind of a crisscross, and then you subtract. That's a good way to look at it. Crisscross, right? So you start over here, start at the top left, so you cross like this, so that's what? Negative 21. And this time, instead of adding them together like you did for that multiplication, the determinant says that you subtract the other two numbers, all right? And then you just subtract these two, which is minus negative 20. All right, that goes to plus, and that goes to negative 1. And your answer is just a number, okay? It's not a matrix, okay? The determinant is just a number. All right, you got to be able to do that little determinant, 2 by 2, to be able to do a 3 by 3. 3 by 3 is a little bit involved. All right, so hopefully you got that little determinant. I might have to stretch this out just a bit. Let's see, where's the dot? Did I click it? There, don't want that. Oh, I know why. Oh. There it is. All right, I'm just going to stretch this out a little bit just so I have some room to write. I should have made this a JPEG instead of PDF, because the PDF, it makes all the letters black. So I got to put a white background on there. But if I just made it a JPEG, I can write, they make it so I can write right on top of it, and it doesn't give you a clear. Anyway, it's a long story. Who cares? Let's do this. So this is a 3 by 3. Let me change mine. All right, so here's what we're going to do. All right, first of all, we're going to take these numbers right here, and we're going to go 3. And now, watch. See this first one? I'm going to block off that one, block off that one. What do I have left? I got negative 2, I got 6, I got 3, and negative 4. So that's what we do at first. See what I just did? I took this top left one. Everything that's in that column and in that row, I'm going to leave out. And whatever's left over, I'm going to make a little 2 by 2 matrix out of it. All right? Now, here's another thing. We're going to do that 3 times. We're also going to do it with a negative 1. And we're also going to do it with a positive 4. In between each of these is going to be a plus and minus. The first one's always going to be whatever the sign was. If that was negative, it would just stay negative. But I don't change the sign. On this one, I'm going to go minus. And on the third one, I'm going to go positive. Remember that? So it goes positive, negative, positive. All right. So let me get rid of some of these lines, if I can grab it. Okay. Now what we're going to do is take the negative 1. So I get rid of that column, get rid of that row, and what am I left with? Well, first of all, put the number out here, so it's a negative 1. Notice, it's minus a negative, so what's that eventually going to do? It's eventually going to go to plus, right? Okay, so let's put the stuff that's left over. What is it? 5, 6, 7, negative 4. Remember doing this stuff? Yeah? All right. I think they're going to have, again, I haven't taught out of this book before, as you heard a million times, but I think there's more stuff on matrices a little bit later on. All right? I think. And you're going to have to know how to do this. So even if you don't have to take the midterm, I would still pay attention so you know how to do this later on. All right, one more. Now we take, let's get rid of this. Okay. Now we'll take this. Get rid of this. You could probably just do that in your head, but I like to do it visually so you can see what's going on. And what do we have left over? Let's put that number here first. All right, and then what do we have? We got a 5, we got a negative 2, we got a 7, and we got a 3. All right, so that's where you want to start. Once you get to that point, then the rest shouldn't be that bad, because if you know how to find a 2x2 determinant here, that's really all we're doing right here. So let's see what we get. So we get 3, and then I'm just going to put it in parentheses. I'm done, because remember, a 2x2 determinant just comes out to a number. All right, so let's do this. Remember, crisscross and subtract. So what do we get? 8 minus 18. All right, minus a negative is going to be a plus, so it's plus. I don't really need the 1 there, though, do I? Whoops. And let's do the same thing. So we crisscross, so it's negative 20 minus 42. And we'll do that math in a minute. Plus 4, parentheses, crisscross, 15 minus negative 14. So that's going to be a plus in a second. Everybody good? Anybody still here? All right, so do this math. That's negative 10 plus, what's that? Negative 62. Yeah, I'll just do it like this. And then plus 4 times that. Is that 29? Yep. So I got negative 30 minus 62 plus 58. What's that? 116 or something like that? Yep. 116. And you add those up. I'll let you do that. That's 24. And there you go. There's your answer. Well, remember, the first one is always positive. The second one was negative. And then the third one's always positive. Now, when I say positive, it means it stays the same sign, right? Because that 4 could have been a negative 4, right? So this would have been a minus. But you just keep whatever the sign is. The only thing is, you just change the sign of the middle one, right? On these right here, to do a 2x2, you subtract. You do the crisscross thing, right? And then you subtract. So it's a lot of little steps to remember, isn't it? Yeah. And if you don't do them over and over again, you tend to forget. We good? Can I get rid of that? Or are you still writing? Everybody okay? All right. So let's get rid of all this. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Delete it. Okay, doke. Find the inverse of the matrix. All right. Again, I got to remind myself. I'm looking at my answer key. So I got to remind myself, because it's been a while, and I don't do these. I haven't done these. When I taught you how to do these for the first time, I hadn't done them in probably over 20 years. All right, so it's hard to remember what you did 20 years ago. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to go 1. Oops, let's change color. Well, let's do this first. Let me change that. Okay, let's see. What we're going to do is we're going to go 1 over the determinant of this matrix. I'll write it all out so you see what we're doing. That's the first part. Okay, you're going to 1 over the determinant. Remember, this is an inverse, so it kind of makes sense to go 1 over something, right, for inverse. But you're doing the inverse of the determinant of this matrix. Then you're taking that. You'll figure that out, get a number for that, and then you're going to multiply it by this matrix. Remember what we do with this? We switch these. We just switch the order of those, okay? So this is going to be a -4, and this is going to be a -3. Now, what do we do with these? You just change the sign of both of those. You don't switch the order, you just change the sign of both of those. Why do you do all that? Well, tell you the truth, I don't think I ever explained it. I don't think I could explain it, okay? But these are the rules, okay? We're just learning the rules on how to do it. This is how you find the inverse, okay? Everybody with me so far? So now what we're going to do is we're just going to figure out what that's equal to, because that's just going to be a number, because that's a determinant, right? Determinant just comes out to be a number. So we're going to figure out what this is and then multiply that number by this matrix, and that's easy because it's just going to be a number, a scalar. Remember that word? It's just going to be a scalar times a matrix, and so you just take whatever this is and multiply it by all 4 of those. So you don't have to worry about going across and going down and all that good stuff. All right? So let's figure out what that is. So let's just do this. Let's do it down here. So what's this going to be? 12. And then this is going to be -5. So it's what? It's 1/7. And so really, all you're doing is you're multiplying that matrix by 1/7. -1, -3. All right? And it's easy to multiply by 1 over 7 because it's just, these are all whole number, well, integers. So what's that going to be? It's just -4/7. What's this? -5/7, -1/7, and -3/7. So that was the simple part. And again, it's going to be a matrix. That's the inverse of this. All right? Remember, we don't really divide when we do matrices, but we can find the what? Just said it. Find the inverse of it, okay? It's finding the inverse of it. Multiplying by the inverse. In that division? Yeah? So if I said this, if I said, what's 7 divided by 2/3? What do? We say 7 times what? The inverse of this. What's the inverse of that? 3 over 2. You with me? Now, finding the inverse of a matrix is a lot harder than find the inverse of a fraction where you just flip the top and bottom. Agreed with that? Yeah. So, but that's what we're doing. And I'll tell you what, I don't want to start on the next one because I won't be able to finish it. So that's a good place to stop because we've got a couple days because really, what chapter was this? Chapter 2, and I got what, chapter 1 to do? Yeah, and I got 2 days to do them both. So we'll finish this up tomorrow, then start chapter 1 tomorrow. And then by Thursday, we'll have time to finish up chapter 1 if we don't tomorrow. And that'll be it. Okay? So remind me tomorrow to do number 9 and 10 tomorrow. Okay? Everybody good? All right. Did I knock you out yet? No, you guys did pretty good. I don't see anybody with their head down, so that's good. At least right now, anyway. All right. We'll finish this up tomorrow.